So, Grant, I wanted to talk about playing pocket queens pre-flop because it's sort of a sticky situation a lot of the time when you're in. Well, it depends on who you're up against and all that, but I feel like if you're up against tough opponents where there's a lot of three betting, pocket queens is pretty much a mandatory four bet if you're like 100 blinds deep or something like that,
Sure.
which is generally what you're going to find yourself in an online cash game.
Yeah.
However, I'm here playing 25, 50 on clubs poker, so that's not like a super tough game. There isn't massive three betting or anything like that, right? And so it's a different kind of situation when you get three bet with queens, and I think position starts to come into play more. Your history with the player comes into, and what with their image comes into play more as well. And I just wanted to talk about it because I feel like this is a thing people find themselves in a lot. Is like, what do I do with this good hand that when I put in the four bet or the five bet even and called, it's usually not a great spot. It's not often like I love it when I get called here, right? But at the same point, you feel like you're underplaying it if you just maybe call a three bet, at least against certain opponents at certain times. So I want to show two hands so we could talk about it a little bit, all right?
Sounds good.
So here's the first hand for you, Grant. I have pocket queens on the button, and you'll see there is a limper. He's got like 60 in front of him.
Mm-hmm. 120 bigs.
And, yeah. I'm actually going to put on the old glasses here so I can see this a little bit better. There we go. You'll see we cover the table.
Here.
Feels good to be here. So we make a normal raise, pot size raise to 225. We're going to get two callers.
One from the guy with 10 blinds.
Yeah, I know. I was assuming he was going to move in or fold, but whatever.
Clubs poker.
Yeah, that's fine. This is the way of the world. But then an interesting thing happens, and that is our limper does not fold and he does not call. He puts in a four bet. Sorry, a three bet.
Stop the tape.
There. The tape has been stopped. So here's our first interesting situation.
This is a little different than what I was expecting from what you described, right? A limp re-raise is a slightly different scenario than you open the cutoff and the button three bets you, right?
Of course.
Let's forget about the positions like that. If it's even a different situation than you open +2 and the low jack three bets you. It's a different thing because limp re-raises have like a special place in poker. And
yes, they do.
Sometimes they're a good play. There's lots of scenarios where they are, depending on the table, depending on the games that are being played. So this comes down to history, right? Like, what do you have with this guy?
Nothing. Zero history.
And you've got the tiny stack who's definitely putting the rest in, unless they're just nuts and decided to give you guys 2.25. Unclear what the 31 sweeps queen stack's going to do.
He's going to get a pretty good price if I just call, right? Like a pretty good price.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's going to call because he's actually putting in a big chunk of his stack, but pretty good price. I imagine he's calling a lot if I call.
So what's your thought process in this moment?
Come play with us on Clubs Poker. They have tournaments, they have ring games, and a 100% bonus if you use the code POKERGUYS or use our link in the description.
It is a lot of fun on Clubs. I have been playing on Clubs, and I have been genuinely impressed by their software. They have great games all the time, and redemptions go direct to your bank account. There's no crypto involved, none of that BS. It's a US-based company. Come play with us on Clubs. We'll see you there.
Oh, man. It's, first of all, really unexpected when they do this. They definitely can have worse hands. We've seen guys do this even when I've shown you hands with guys doing this like Jack sometimes or 7 sometimes. But generally, this is a stronger hand than queens a lot of the time. This is often aces, right, when this play is made by amateur-type players.
Assuming it's an unbalanced player, and if you're playing 50 NL on Clubs, it's probably an unbalanced player. I mean, I recently wrote an article on our website about how we created an attempt at a balanced limping strategy for limp re-raising. I don't think that's necessarily being applied in this situation. So we can't really assume like ace deuce of spades too frequently in the range.
I would not count on that at all. I mean, I don't think there's any folding. I decided because of the nature of the limp re-raise, even though I think that the stacks behind me are probably not folding, that I thought ultimately a call was the right play here. I wasn't really sure, honestly, because I don't love letting the other players in. But I
don't mind letting the other players in that much. Like sometimes they hit a set on you, sometimes they hit a weird 2-pair type hand on you, and that's just life. And that guy just leaves 0.65 behind. Nicely done.
Yeah. So it's a king 8-3 rainbow flop.
Well,
we're
that's
now four-handed. Yeah.
Not great now that the two players are in. Like king jack feels like a hand.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying about letting guys in. You're talking about 2 pair and sets. I'm talking about aces and kings. There's a lot more of them now. Like I might just be up against jacks from the limp-raise.
That's
but now
true.
There's overcards I have to worry about because they're priced in. So it's not great. I don't really know what I'm going to do. However, I think it's pretty straightforward. Let's see. The guy with 65 cents left just goes all in. Fair enough, I guess.
Whatever.
Doesn't matter what
care.
he has. The next guy, I mean, I don't know. Are we really folding? No, he calls for 65 cents. The original limp-raise now puts in a pot, not a half pot raise though, to 14 and a half. And so now this feels pretty straightforward, I think, how I want to play this,
call.
Right? I decide I'm just folding when this guy decides to do it. Like
I'm treating that as just I'm treating that as a C bet.
Okay.
Because of the 0.65 being essentially a check, and like the guy in the big blind can have pretty much anything calling 0.65 for free. So it's effectively a check from him as well.
Is this guy always C betting 2 jacks here with 3 ways when we call? I don't know that he is.
Not necessarily, but I mean, it's a dry board. It's probably it's obviously a suboptimal sizing from this opponent. If with anything, like he's betting way too big on this board.
Right.
But
if he bet really small, I would have called. If he bet 25% a pot, I would have called for sure. Right.
Yeah, but I think he's supposed to bet 25% a pot with all of his hands, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, I think I want to call. I do want to call.
Okay.
But it sucks.
I did not
it does
call.
Suck.
I did not call, but the good news is we're always going to get to see who this guy had because this first guy is all in.
That's right. That's a nice little bonus.
I let it go because of his sizing here. I followed pretty quickly. Our all-in player is all in. The other guy with 26 folds. And look at that. The guy started with 2 kings, limp-raise, flop top set, and then still raised really big on the driest flop imaginable. King A3. If he bets a quarter pot, I'm going to call 1 bet. Wow. And he just costs himself, $7 that doesn't have to cost himself. I don't really know why, what he's trying to protect against or anything. It feels like but anyway, I feel glad to have gotten off the hook there, and I feel lucky not to have put in the 4 bet, being worried about the other players and their potential overcards to my queens. But that one worked out okay.
Like you said, the limp-raise is like particularly strong from a player that you don't expect balance from. So it makes it a little easier to play that way.
I agree totally. Now we're going to see another hand. I have a second pocket queens hand, which is not a limp-raise situation. So we get to watch that one instead. And here we go right here. We're going to be under the gun with 2 red queens. We're going to do our standard.
You've lost some money. Oh, no. Makes me sad.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I think this might be a different table. But it's the same session. So,
no,
so we're under the gun with 2 queens.
Same spot.
Oh, is it the same? Yeah. Oh, you're right. It's the same player. I opened to 1 1/4. The 2 players on my left immediately call. So we're already raise, call with 5 players to go.
Almost impossible that we're behind right now. And okay.
Right. However, hey, there's the 3 bet because that's what I was. This is another interesting situation. So the next player 3 bets. That's what the hijack 3 bets. We got a fold from the button. We're going to get folds from the 2 blinds as well. I'll tell you right now. And so it's going to come back to me. So the 3 bet is to 7. The original, this 3 better's got 35.5 back. I cover the table here. Not that I cover all these players anyway. We also have these 2 other players in between, and we're out of position to everybody. So what do you want to do with queens here? Again, not against a super tough table where people are 3 betting all the time, where we might feel obligated to put in the 4 bet.
Still, I think that people in these types of games tend to 3 bet more in the scenario where you open there's 2 callers than if you were just the sole opener and there's no callers.
Yeah.
So it feels like the range is wide enough that we're just supposed to jam it and clean up equity from the callers, and sometimes get called by ace king and decline to run it twice and see if we win a flip. Sometimes get called by jacks, and maybe sometimes get called by weaker hands in that. And sometimes we're crushed, And I think that's just something you have to accept in this scenario. It does feel very different than the limp-raise scenario. I think we just accept our fate here and we go with it.
Yeah, that is what I thought as well. Part of it was about the fact that, there's this squeeze situation happening, which there wasn't the other one too, in theory, but he was limp-raising. It felt different. Also, I'm opening under the gun, which is stronger, But I don't know. What does it really mean? We're not even 100 blinds deep with the three better, and I don't want to call and play a hand 4 ways out of position with queens when I'm not even don't even have the initiative. It just feels like so hard to win that pot. So it feels like I felt like obligated to 4-bet this one.
Yeah,
so
I think
that
that's
is
right.
what I'm going to do. Yeah. So I make it. I do a stack committing 24 and a quarter. It's the same.
Doesn't
as all
really
in.
matter. Same as all in. Doesn't matter.
So our opponent now, the problem, of course, is our opponent gets to respond really well to this, right? Like all his bluffs fold. A hand like ace queen probably folds. Ace king probably doesn't. Jacks, maybe we get to trap. Maybe tens we get to trap here. But everyone else, they get to respond really well. But there's dead money in there. What are you going to do?
Yeah, sometimes you just are a victim of the cards, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Our opponent does go all in. So the 3-better now 5 bets all in for 18 more. We made it 24 and a quarter. He makes it 42.
Obviously.
There's nothing to think about here. Doesn't matter what he has. He could turn over his hand, we're going to call. He could turn over aces, we're calling at this point. I guess we aren't really, but you know what I'm saying.
No.
He's got 2 kings again. We're always up against kings. What are you going to do? It sucks. I declined to run it twice because I'm a baller.
Yeah, you are a baller.
Yeah, of course.
And you should always decline.
We lose.
How is it not a queen on the river?
It's funny. Every time I show you a hand, it feels like I always win. No matter how I play it, no matter what situation, I always end up winning the pot. And here's two where I had a good hand, and I lost both times. And I'm like, I don't know what else there is to do in these spots. Like one of them, I decided to 4-bet all in. The other one, I decided to just call. I feel like I'm getting it all in with this 3-better anyway on this 6-8-6 flop. And by the way, the flop was 6-8-6, turn 10, river 9. Like we're just getting it in by the turn, if not on the flop anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But it's just one of those where it's like frustrating, where it's like, I don't know, man. Is there something else to do with queens here? Like we could just call, but calling and playing it out of position feels awful.
You could. I mean, it's not the end of the world to just call, but I think it's better to go with it in this situation, especially out of position. In the limp-raise spot, you also were in position against the limp-raiser, which is
that's right,
kind of a big deal.
I agree. It's much easier.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is there's $10 of dead money in here, right? 10 sweeps coins worth of dead money. So, like, raising and even folding out his bluffs, it's still a pretty good win for queens here to win 20 blinds without going to even a flop. Like, that's a pretty nice...
Right, because his bluffs can still either bluff you or beat you if you call, right? So
right, exactly. Like, it's not... There's, like, some reasonable percentage of the time, aces and kings will be on flop, turn, or river, and he will represent them if he's bluffing. Mm-hmm. And I will lose some percent. I will not always call down, right? I'm not getting to showdown that often when the board gets even a little scary with this hand, where I'm also sometimes up against aces and kings. So it's like, oh, great. Now there's more things. Like the board comes jack, 10, 7. I'm like, cool. Now I'm losing to jacks and 10s and aces and kings. Great. And jack 10 suited now. And like a bunch more hands that are beating me that, maybe weren't before. So yeah. So I don't hate how I played either one of these, but I just think these are spots people find themselves in a lot. And it's easy to be either overly conservative or overly aggressive. And it feels like the answer is, sometimes do one, sometimes do the other. Hopefully have some history with the opponent and, base it on that as well. What you think about this person and if they're going to be wide here at all. And of course your position matters too, right? If this is button and small blind, we're just always getting it in.
Yeah, of course. I think this is a good thing to bring up because queens feel like in a 100 big blind deep game, queens feel like the one that's like the throttle keeps slipping in the middle. You can't find the right place, where you're like trying to get it the right level of balance of aggression and you just can't quite get it. It goes back and forth and back and forth. Like if you're 300 blinds deep, it's a lot easier. You can see a lot more flops. You don't have to put in extra bets. If you're 50 blinds deep, it's like, well, we're just getting it in for 50 blinds. Who cares? Right? 100 blinds with queens feels like a very difficult spot. I agree. So it's good that you brought it up.
Tired of being tired of being sick. In my head 24/7, how I'm supposed to pay the rent. Mr. Practice, I don't play. Friday nights we on the bench, trying to come up with a play. If it don't work, then hit it lick. 12 knocking at my door, praying they ain't tell. I'm studying her word, prayer. Baby excel, got away with way too much. Should've got expelled, but the school saw my potential. Smart kid trying to